Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So yesterday was a massive day. Lots of news about Xbox, Activision, Blizzard, the 10-year deals with Nintendo and Nvidia for GeForce Now. Just huge, I think, for progress in whether this deal is going to go through or not. They presented their case to the EU. They showed the dominance that PlayStation and Sony have right now within the market and pretty much said this isn't affecting competition. This is essentially giving more games to more people, where you have a company like Sony that is so dominant. The reason why they're so against this deal is because they just don't want to give up that dominance. And if this deal goes through, I've talked about this in previous videos, it's really going to force Sony and PlayStation to try and do new things rather than the console exclusivity stuff that they have been doing forever, for 2 decades now. Now, we have seen Sony change up over the last year or so, especially with the rise of Xbox Game Pass, bringing games to PC, bringing games to mobile, adding the PlayStation Plus tiers. These are all small steps Sony is making along the way to try to position themselves in a better position going forward, because of right now, Xbox by far, in my opinion, is the best positioned gaming company with Game Pass. And if this deal goes through, they're going to be even further ahead than everybody else. So that's why this is such a big deal for Xbox, and a big deal for the competitors that know they have been slow to adjust to where gaming is going, which is subscription and cloud gaming. Now, one of the things people were talking about with this deal, with the strategy of trying to get it passed, trying to get it approved, would be sell off parts of the company, sell off Blizzard potentially, or maybe sell off, I don't know, Call of Duty or some of the studios that make Call of Duty, or however it's structured, selling parts of it so that it's less of a purchase, and then the regulatory bodies would approve it. And Brad Smith commented on this in his press conference, essentially saying it doesn't make any sense to do that. They're not going to do that. But here's exactly what he said. We don't think it's realistic that one part of this company can be carved out from the rest. Now, again, was his response to the solution of Divestiture. So if you're thinking that that's going to happen, it's most likely not going to happen for Xbox, for Microsoft, and for the gaming industry. It's an all or nothing thing here. I think if they have to end up selling off stuff as part of the remedies, they may just squash this deal, just say, never mind, we want out of this deal, pay the penalty, and then take the money that they've spent on this, because I think the penalty is like $3 billion, but take everything else and probably go out and just money hat stuff and buy other studios. I feel like that's what would happen if this deal doesn't go through. But divestiture, not one of the options. So that was an interesting point that came out. And then we have this here, and that is that Valve is hiring legal counsel to appear in the FTC versus Microsoft Activision merger case. Now, we know Valve has been very open that they have no issue with this deal. I mean, we have Gabe Newell with his response down here. I'll read it to you, but basically saying that they trust Xbox and Microsoft, and they don't even need to sign anything for a 10-year deal for Call of Duty, because Xbox has been good for their word. And you could definitely see that Phil Spencer is probably a very trustworthy person in the industry, and people respect him. So I'm not surprised to hear that from other companies, but this is what Gabe Newell said. We're happy that Microsoft wants to continue using Steam to reach customers with Call of Duty when their Activision acquisition closes. Microsoft has been on Steam for a long time, and we take it as a signal that they are happy with gamers' reception to that and the work we are doing. Our job is to keep building valuable features for not only Microsoft, but all Steam customers and partners. Microsoft offered and even sent us a draft agreement for a long-term Call of Duty commitment, but it wasn't necessary for us because A, we're not believers in requiring any partner to have an agreement that locks them to shipping games on Steam in the distant future. B, Phil and the games team at Microsoft have always followed through on what they told us they would do, so we trust their intentions. And C, we think Microsoft has all the motivation they need to be on platforms and devices where Call of Duty customers want to be. So right there, Valve had no issue. They don't need to sign anything for this 10-year deal. They may end up signing it. Maybe it's something that Microsoft and Xbox want to use again to show like, hey, look, we have another company that we've given a 10-year deal to, which is unprecedented in the industry, to give 10-year deals for first-party games, and maybe that will help push the deal through. But they seem like a proponent for this deal. They seem like they are a company that has no issue with this deal going through, but they are hiring legal counsel. And it says here, Valve will be a part of the FTC's administrative lawsuit against the Microsoft Activision merger. And the filing was signed and published on February 17th, 2023, showing that Fox Rothschild LLP partner Kristen W. Bras will represent Valve in the FTC's merger case. And she's a lawyer. She's experienced litigator with a national practice focused on class action, data privacy, intellectual property, and federal government contracts litigation. And we don't know, with that information, what Valve's role is going to be with this case. Some people are speculating, like it says here, Microsoft or Activision have subpoenaed Valve in an attempt to secure more documents to file a supplement pro-merger argument. So maybe that's why they have to hire this lawyer, or maybe they're just bringing a lawyer on because they're going to be a part of this case and they need to be lawyered up essentially to make sure they aren't saying anything super or providing the wrong things within this case. But from a Valve point of view, from everything that we've heard, they are pro this deal going through. They have no issues with it. And as of right now, it seems like there's only two organizations, two companies, two corporations that are against this deal. Sony with huge red flags. They don't want this deal going through. And then Google, who we haven't heard too much about lately, but they still have voiced complaints about this deal and they haven't switched to it going through. Nvidia originally was against this deal going through until yesterday, where they signed that 10-year deal. So lots of interesting stuff here that is still coming out from Microsoft with the EU. Now, there's some more stuff I want to go over here. I posted this on Twitter with MLX's summary, a new update as to right now where we are at with this deal, where things are, what the timeline is. It says the deals with Nintendo and Nvidia show Microsoft's commitment to building a cross-platform future and that it's comfortable entering into private agreements, according to Brad Smith. This is something that Brad Smith mentioned, and the cross-platform thing is the future of gaming, whether people like it or not. No matter how big of a fanboy you are of a particular platform, it is going to be cross-platform. There's going to be more and more crossing over of games, crossing over of networks, all of that type of stuff. And the battle is going to be what network is going to be the dominant network, what ecosystem is going to be the dominant ecosystem. It's going to be like the subscription and the cloud-based stuff. But cross-platform is definitely going to be a future with a bunch of games, like we're seeing with Minecraft, we're seeing it with Call of Duty, and then there will be other games out there that just make more sense to be on multiple platforms. I mean, we even see it with Sony San Diego's MLB The Show. That is now across all of the different platforms. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that stuff that you would have never thought of during like the 360 PS3 generation, the PS2 original Xbox generation. We would have never thought about these things back then, but now it's becoming more and more, and it's about how many people can you get your ecosystem in front of, and how long can you keep their attention? That is what it's about. It's not about closing your ecosystem off to keep people out of it and make them go out and buy an expensive box to play. Then he goes on here and says, Brad Smith believes that the CMA left the door open to behavioral remedies. I also don't think the CMA completely shut the door to behavioral remedies. They left the door open at least a bit. I hope the CMA will look through the door and see this opportunity to bring this game to 150 million people. That's specifically Call of Duty. It's funny because when all of this stuff started happening, a lot of people were thinking that there's no way all of this can be about one singular game. There's got to be more to it. But as more information starts coming out, it really does seem like it is completely just about Call of Duty. It's the one thing Sony is latching onto because I think it's the only thing that they can latch onto because of how big of a game it is. But we'll see if it ends up working in the end. Right now, from everything that's come out yesterday, I don't think it will. I do think there's a better chance that this deal is going to go through. Better chance than I thought last week, but still, we have no idea. Now, it continues here and says, Brad Smith about Sony. We sent an offer to Sony 2 days before Christmas. I'm ready to sign it anytime. He also said that Microsoft would also be willing to hold further talks if Sony doesn't like the current offer. And we were hearing grumblings that they were potentially talking, but obviously Sony is still not wanting to negotiate. They're not for this deal. They're still against it. And I feel like they're going to be doing this right to the bitter end until a decision is made. Then they say for the 10-year offers for Nvidia and Nintendo, Brad Smith said that most of these deals end up getting renewed beyond the initial time if they are a success. And this is what I find just interesting and actually just kind of absurd. It's a 10-year deal. It's a 10-year deal. We've never seen this in gaming where a company is offering their first-party game, which Call of Duty will be if this deal goes through, for 10 years to their competing platforms. And 10 years is so long in the gaming industry. So much can change between now and 10 years. Who knows where Call of Duty is going to be? Who knows where these platforms are going to be? Will NVIDIA GeForce Now even still be around? Will Nintendo still be making consoles? Will Xbox even still be making consoles? We don't know any of this stuff. All of the stuff is up in the air. So 10 years is such a big thing that worrying about whether these deals are going to be getting renewed in 10 years to me is kind of crazy. I mean, what's going to happen, I think, in 10 years is that the deal is going to be great for everybody, that these companies are going to want to renew no matter what, that Xbox and Microsoft are going to have so much power in getting them to renew because they're going to see all the money and the stuff that these games and these deals do drive into their systems and into their ecosystems, especially if they move further to the subscription model. Then we go, the last thing he says here, Brad Smith believes that now that Nvidia also supports the deal, there is an increasingly stark decision to be made by regulators around the world. So just a quick update, a bit more information as to what is going on. And then we have this here I want to point out, because this was something that was very, very confusing with the wording that Brad Smith had put out in Twitter. And you got to be clear. You really got to use your words correctly, because if you don't, speculation occurs. Media is going to jump all over it. People are going to be asking questions, and it's just not a good thing, I think, for Xbox and just for what is going on with this deal. But it was specifically Brad Smith saying that they signed that 10-year deal with Nintendo for Call of Duty. He did say Xbox games in his original tweet, and it's clarified here that he just means Call of Duty. It's not like Halo and Gears of War and Fable and Perfect Dark are going to be coming over to Nintendo as well, at least not as of right now. As Christopher Dring writes this on Twitter, just to clear up any confusion, the Nvidia agreement is for all Xbox games that are on PC, plus Activision Blizzard titles if the deal goes through. And that makes sense because first-party games are already on PC from Xbox. Like their Fables, their Perfect Dark, those are all going to be on PC. They're going to be through Steam. So bringing it to GeForce Now just makes complete sense. Then he goes on and says the Nintendo agreement is just for Call of Duty if the deal goes through. So clarification, it isn't for other Xbox titles with Nintendo. It is specifically just for Call of Duty. And again, complete sense business-wise. Call of Duty is a Minecraft-style game. Taking it off of other platforms, well, they won't be able to make up that money. They will lose money if they do that, which is why I'm sure they're sitting there and saying, hey, we'll give you 10 years, no problem, because we're going to be making tons of money off of you. So here, take 10-year deals for Call of Duty. We do not care, because the difference, the return on investment by taking it off isn't going to outweigh the benefits of keeping it everywhere. Then we have this here from Tom Warren, and again, it's Brad Smith talking about Xbox cross-platform and exclusives. Microsoft has 58 games already running on PlayStation. Sony only has 2 running on Xbox, which I'm trying to think what the 2 are. So it would be MLB, and what would be the other one? Destiny? I guess MLB and Destiny would be the 2 games that are running on Xbox. We've said that if this acquisition goes through, we're happy to make sure that there's 59 with Call of Duty and no doubt others. Sony has 286 exclusive titles, and Microsoft only has 59 on Xbox. Mostly what you see is a cross-platform strategy for Microsoft even before this deal. Now, as we look to the future, we believe the future is even more cross-platform than it has been in the past. And this isn't surprising. I mean, we can go all the way back to cross-platform play, where Xbox was the leader in that. They wanted to bring cross-platform with everyone, and we saw those documents that came out versus the Epic versus Apple case, where Sony didn't want anything to do with it before finally giving in, but they just wanted to get paid more money for this to happen, which obviously cross-platform will benefit everybody. You're getting people across all communities being able to play together, and as a gamer, that's something that I remember for years growing up playing video games. When we were able to get online with the OG Xbox, with the 360, I always thought to myself, why can't we just play with our friends on PS3 or PS2 or on other platforms? And now it's here. It's been here for a couple years now, but originally PlayStation was against it. And if it wasn't for Xbox initiating this, we may not have cross-platform play right now. And then finally, I'm going to end this video off with one more thing, because this thing is just absolutely hilarious. We have Lulu Tang Meserve, who, as we know, EVP Corporate Affairs and CCO at Activision Blizzard, puts out this meme. Sony refuses to accept guaranteed long-term access to COD. What if we lose access to COD? By putting the stick in the spokes of the bike and pretending like they are the victims, which they absolutely are not the victims right now in this case. But I mean, that's hilarious that she's posting stuff like this. And what I found even made her even more of a real one was she responded to this person saying Kotaku, Seath, incoming 3-2, and she responded with a smiling, laughing face. So Lulu Shane Miserve has been hilarious throughout this entire thing, and it'll be fun to see what else she posts. But I'm going to leave this stuff here. A huge day yesterday. Let me know what your thoughts are on everything that's been going on, everything I've talked about in this video. Again, I appreciate the support. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you enjoy videos like this, if you enjoy gaming news, you enjoy Xbox news, pretty much daily videos on this channel. So join, almost at 10K, and I will catch you guys in the next video.
Bye.